Experts is brought to you by Vermonti's. Craving something cheesy, crispy, and unforgettably delicious? Say hello to Vermonti's Pizza, where every slice is a love letter to the Green Mountain State. From classic pepperoni to our legendary mac and cheese pizza, we're serving up bold flavors you won't find anywhere else. Order online and get 20% off your first order with promo code Vermonti20. That's VERMONTY 20. Hit us up on Instagram at Vermonti's_Vermont Eats to see what's hot and fresh right now. Vermonti's Pizza, homegrown, handmade, and hella good. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Potential Experts. Today is Wednesday, May 6th, and what a difference one singular week makes. 2 weeks, let alone 1 week, 2 weeks ago, I was ready to give up on the Knicks. They were down 2-1 to Atlanta. I now find the Knicks up 1-0 in their series, but even more so than that, and we're going to get to them right away. I'm going to throw right to them. Ethan's here to talk Celtics. They've had a 3-1 lead over a team that they have, over a team in the 76ers and a player in Joel Embiid that they have historically dominated in the Jays era. And it didn't go their way this year. Ethan, this is me tossing you the ball, low post, go to work.
Yeah, I mean, it was nothing short of an epic meltdown. 3 chances to close out a series, couldn't get it done. I don't know, this is kinda like the first time in my fandom in Jaylen Brown's tenure where I'm, like, kinda thinking maybe it is time to move on. He seems to be kind of, as the kids say these days, crashing out. Like, I opened his Instagram story the other day, and he had, like, 12 more queued up, and I was like, "Oh my god," like, this du I didn't even bother watching it just because I was like, "This dude is just he's in his feels right now."
He's losing it.
But like we were texting earlier in the week, if you said in October, this was probably the likely scenario, right? Like, I did have my hopes up. At the end of the day, they just didn't really have the talent, um, depth-wise to even get out of the first round, clearly. Philly Philly's a really interesting team, right? Boston blew them out in game 1 just like the Knicks did. I don't know, I think the Knicks should have an easier time with the Sixers, though. They seem to have more answers. The Celtics are just kind of a little bit of a broken team right now. They need to go into the offseason and really look at some potential big moves, whether that comes with players. I don't know. I doubt they move on from Missoula, but I don't have any trust in it.
There's got to be a little bit of
All
a
the
philosophy
threes.
switch. There's got to be a little bit of a
Yeah,
philosophy switch. You guys bailed Philly out in that series by hucking threes, man. You could have attacked Embiid's mobility, lack thereof, and you didn't.
it was the same story in the Knicks series the year before, the Heat series in 23, right? Just hucking and hucking. In 24, they just happened to be making them all. And they had their most talented team then. You
And
know,
the
the
easiest
Prosper
path
and
that year too.
they did. They did. Admittedly so, right? Jimmy Butler got hurt, Donovan Mitchell was hurt, and Halliburton was hurt. So those are three teams in the East, all with their star players hurt.
Julius Randle too.
Yeah, I mean, the Knicks lost in the second round that year, right?
We did.
Yeah, but that was part of that whole barrage of injuries. The thing with the
Right.
Celtics, like, I just, I don't know, Ethan. I don't get why you're so down. This was the most fun year of Jalen Brown's entire career. He loved it. He was so happy to be the number one option. Screw being a Finals MVP, being on a winning team, but get into just kind of chuck and run the show. Like that was awesome, man. So he had a fun time. I think
Yeah.
your NBA like playoff like initial reaction, I think was a little bit off. You said the Celtics were
Yeah, I
going to
mean,
lose 3 games in the entire Eastern Conference. They
they
got to
lost
4,
more in
buddy.
the first round. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm good at that type of math. It was an overreaction segment, so that may have been a bit of an overreaction. But, you hit on some, you lose on some. Clearly, I took a big L on that one. But it happens to the best of us. You know, it is what it is. I can't change it, right? Like, I'm just sitting here as a fan. I wish I had more, but they lost, right?
Yeah. I mean, listen, if you're going to critique one thing, because, Tatum being out, you can't be mad at him for that. I mean, for the Celtics, I do think I don't, like you said, I don't think Missoula is going to get fired, but I do think that's where you have to look first. He's kind of like the new
Culture
Budenholzer
guy.
almost, where like, yeah, he was my
He's a
82
culture
game
guy.
coach of the year. He was great in the regular season, but the lack of adjustments that he made, and like someone said earlier, is the same thing as last year when they got eliminated. That 3-point strategy is great in the regular season. It's almost like a baseball team that just goes for home runs because the math is
Yeah.
going to work your way in the regular season. If you end up shooting 40% from three or 38% in the regular season, that's going to get you to 50 wins. But in a playoff series, when you need guaranteed buckets here and now, you can't just rely on that. If you're just going for home runs always, they're not always going to cash and then you're going to lose. Basketball, even more so than baseball, it's not just like it's not pure numbers. It's an actual game out there. And Missoula didn't adjust. And I think another big thing was he was playing Tatum like 30 to 38 to like 42 minutes a night in that series. No wonder he couldn't play in game seven. This guy's coming off an Achilles injury, and you're putting Tom Thibodeau, Josh Hart minutes on him. Like that's not something that's feasible to do. I think he should have been a little smarter about that. I think Brad Stevens, as great as he is, really fumbled at the trade deadline this year. I'm sorry, if,
Yeah.
like
They could have
dish
used
out a
Simons in that game.
could have used Simons, or if you're going to trade
All
Simons for a
series.
big, dish out a little
Maybe
draft
not.
capital and go get Zubats. Like yeah, like
Yeah.
getting Vucevic. That was, dude. I mean, if the
He was
Bulls are trying
pitiful.
to trade you, like that tells you all you need to know. So I think the Celtics will be active this summer. I would not be surprised if Jaylen Brown gets moved. I think out of all those guys with Jaylen Brown, Jamal Murray, Kevin Durant, these like star players on teams that got eliminated, I think outside of KD, Brown is the most likely one not to be with the same roster next year. And that's like, going against KD in that scenario, like being less likely than him, that's like, fastest kid at turtle camp. But like, it's going to be a
Like,
little
what team
messy.
wants Kevin Durant at this point? I mean, it would have to be really the perfect scenario.
Maybe this Jaylen Brown for KD and solve all your problems, He's
No
a great locker
way.
room guy.
I feel like no. That's a no.
No, that won't
Firm no
happen.
from me.
But honestly, this is real lovely. I'm sure Ben can attest to this. Going to UVM, just being surrounded by Boston and Philadelphia fans. I walked into my freshman year at the bottom of the totem pole. And I'm in these group chats and I'm the only Knicks fan and it's just listening to all their bull. And now the Celtics are getting bounced by Philly. The Red Sox suck. The Phillies suck. The Eagles are a mess. Mike Vrabel is a human who exists. And it's a great time to be a New York sports fan out of that kind of big three of like the biggest, best sport fan bases in America. I'll give that to Boston and Philly. It's clearly us three. We don't got anything else going on in the Northeast. So it's
It's
pretty
true.
sick. And that kind of leads us into this game one of Knicks Sixers, where it's like, yeah, the Sixers went down 0-1 to Boston, but the way New York is playing, they're not just
For sure.
relying on the 3-point shot. Like I may have snooped around a Celtics Reddit the other day, and you see the people in there. It's like this is an actual offense that's going at the flaws in Philly. Like Philly, they're such a flawed
Taking
roster,
mid-range
and
shots.
Embiid is a cone. Like he's so immobile right now. What made him so great for so long was his two-way presence, and he's still dominant offensively when he's healthy. But even a healthy Embiid is just like Cat is a much better defensive player than Embiid at this point, and that's insane. Like you would, if you said that 5 years ago, people would be like, "What are you talking about?" And so just watching that series, I don't really know after watching that first game why Boston wasn't attacking Embiid like that. Like if OG Anunoby is blowing by Embiid on a pick and roll, like Jaylen Brown should be doing the same exact thing. Like
Yeah.
offensively, there's nothing those two can't do the same way. Like it's just I don't get what Boston was doing. Watching that game seven was genuinely mind boggling. It's just like, oh, another three, another three. 5 seconds into the shot clock, a three. Kick it out. You have a driving lane. Nah, let's shoot a three. Baylor Shireman, we're gonna sit you all series and play a game seven. No wonder that dude's going over. So it was a disaster class from Missoula. I think he's earned enough credit where he'll be back, but it is the NBA. Coaching changes happen all the time, so I guess I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah. I also think in the Knicks series too, they have the ability with a big man to stretch the floor. The Celtics didn't really have that, and to take them and beat away from the basket, that's huge. Not to say that the Celtics game plan was completely flawed, but that's just definitely an
I would
advantage
say it
the
was
Knicks have as
completely
well.
flawed. I think if you're a more
Well,
talented
yeah.
team, you don't jack up those threes. If you're playing in a talent deficit, maybe that's when you bust out that game plan. But against Philly, you are in a major talent surplus. When you look at the whole roster and how deep your team is, you should be making Philly work on defense instead of just pinging the ball around the perimeter with no drive, like with no attacking the basket. They have like a 6-man rotation, 7 with Drummond. Those guys get so exhausted so easily. By game
So
7
did
of
the
a series, you
Celtics,
should
though,
be.
at that point.
But they. But
They
why?
didn't need
They were
to.
the
They didn't.
deepest
No,
team in the
I
league
agree.
all year. You know, they had the
No,
best
I
bench in the
agree. I
league.
don't know what.
They're a well-oiled machine. They never mess
Listen,
up.
I'm
They do
not the
everything
coach,
right.
man.
So
I don't.
clearly,
I don't make the
someone was
decisions.
lying to me. Someone was lying to me because I was told by Ben, Ethan, and Larry that the Celtics were guarantees to get out of the East. This was going to be their year to walk through it. And guess what? They're out round 1 and the Knicks are still kicking. I'm the only one who believed. And right now it looks pretty clear that we're walking to the finals. No doubt about it. So thank you.
Follow-up
Yeah, I
question to
mean,
that. Wasn't it pretty clear you were walking into the finals against Indiana last year?
Wasn't it pretty clear that you're the hockey expert and my NHL Cup predictions are better than yours? Go Birds, not the Phillies.
I would like to point out that Ben did not address the question.
Ben, rebuttal?
Listen,
that was good,
all right,
Brandon.
Indiana had Black Magic. There's no Black Magic team in the
They
East
did.
this year.
They did.
What Indiana did, what Halliburton was doing, I hate
2
Halliburton as a
years in a
basketball
row,
player,
right?
but I do respect him a lot as well. Like, kudos to them. They deserve that. All right. And I was not ultra confident going up against Indiana last year. I thought we would win, but I didn't think it would be a walkover. There's no team in the East that scares me the way Indiana did going into that series.
Indiana, after the turn of the calendar last year, so in 2025, I believe record-wise was the best team in the Eastern Conference over the Cavaliers, over the Celtics, over the Knicks. They got off to a slow start in like October, November, December in 24, and were ripping by that time. And as Ben said, the Black Magic just absolutely destroyed us. Okay.
Yeah, it was insane.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. You know what? Listen, I like it. That was good flow. That was good conversation. I appreciate us, being able to talk ball like that. Apologize that didn't work out the way you wanted to, but I do think sometimes, man, if I had your sports success as a fan, I'd be okay with a lot of things. Ben,
Yeah, and Ethan, you really are the rare Celtics fan who I don't want to put their head through a wall. Kudos to you on that as well. If I'm going to feel bad for anyone in the Boston kind of region fan base, you'd be one of the few. So sorry about it, bud.
Appreciate that. No, there's nothing to be sorry about. If the Celtics losing is the worst thing going on in my life, life's pretty good.
Well, have you seen the Red Sox? It's got to be
Yeah.
up there too.
the best tweet I saw all weekend, because we all know I'm addicted to Twitter. The best tweet I saw all weekend was this has to be the first weekend in history that the Celtics, Bruins, and Red Sox all got eliminated on the same weekend. Which I loved that. It made me happy to read, but we'll get to the Bruins elimination when we talk a little bit later. Ben, do you want to go ahead and kind of transition it to the present moment? We have all 4 series underway as of last night. We got 2 game 2s tonight, Knicks Sixers, and of course, Wolves Spurs. Take it whatever direction you'd like.
Yeah, so for me, looking at these 4 series, I feel like we got enough on the Knicks and Sixers. Like I said, my time is a little crunched today. No Embiid tonight, so we'll see how that goes. I feel like they're just too shallow, I think, to keep on going in the playoffs. You see it with teams every year. While you don't always run a 10-man rotation in the playoffs, you need 10 guys who can play, and the Sixers do not have that at all. When we're looking at the other 3 series, so we have the Pistons are up 1-0 on the Cavs. The Wolves are up 1-0 on the Spurs, and the Thunder are up 1-0 on LeBron James and company in LA. Ben, which of those three series do you think that the team who's down 0-1 has the best chance of coming back and winning?
It's obvious, and I'm not going to try to give you some roundabout, just ridiculous answer. It's obviously the San Antonio Spurs. They had, despite the fact he had 12 blocks the other night, a playoff record. Victor Wembanyama, I believe, went 0 for 8 from 3-point range. One of those 8 go down. I mean, I know there's other things that the ebb and flows of a game, but I mean, they lost the game by 2 points. Theoretically, one of those 8 threes falls, they win the game. So even if none of them fall, if Julian Champagny knocks down that 3 at the end, they win the game. So it's just like a different feel. I give the Wolves a lot of credit. Jonathan Macri, actually, his bold prediction is a Knicks-Wolves finals. I don't personally agree with that, but the Wolves are a very, very gutsy team. They play extremely hard. Ant Edwards absolutely has that dog in him. I respect that. But with the Devo injury, where there's no way that Anthony Edwards is even close to 100%, he's probably closer to 60, 65%.
He might
just
not play
don't,
tonight.
and the fact that they employ Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert, I just don't see them realistically being able to hold off Wemby and the Spurs in this series. I think the Spurs win comfortably tonight, probably by about 13 to 17 points. They maybe the Wolves get a split back in Minnesota, and then I think the Spurs take them in 6.
Yeah, I mean, like Ethan briefly mentioned there, Edwards is questionable for tonight's game. Super impressive game one for Minnesota. Chris Finch, you could argue he's the best coach left in the playoffs. I would not hate that take at all. What he did, just taking Wemby and Fox out of that game, they combined for 20 points, was insane. Randall, not the most efficient night, but hit some big shots, and his defense using his lower center of gravity on Wembanyama was also quite impressive. Not something I really feel like I've seen from him much throughout his career. And I mean, listen, yeah, San Antonio is probably the most likely to come back and win the series out of the teams who are down, but I'd only give them a 65% chance of doing it. There is something about Minnesota where they just kind of surpass expectations every year. They
Yeah.
somehow pull stuff together that you don't think they're going to be able to do. And I'd give that like a 65-35 split right now. A note on Wemby's 12 blocks. If you go back and watch the tape, there's a little home cooking going on in that stat sheet. I don't know if he quite got to 12. Maybe it was more of a 7 or 8 type of game. There was a few in there that were like, but that happens all the time, so you can't be too mad about it. But I think San Antonio, they just really need Fox to step up. I mean, he's supposed to be their veteran on the team. Him, Castle, and Harper have been largely like equals throughout this playoff run, I feel like. And you brought in Fox to be the clear number one out of your guards, and he's not really giving you that. And, San Antonio, they didn't really get tested round one. This is that series where you're going to see the playoff and experience come to fruition. We saw with OKC 2 years ago in round two against Dallas. This Minnesota team has been here before. They've done this. They've been in the conference finals 2 straight years. I would not be shocked in the slightest if that kind of veteran experience wins out over San Antonio and they make it through this series.
Yeah, I feel
I
like
think it really depends on Ant's health. Like, if he's playing, they have a really good chance to win this series. If not, it slims down for sure.
do we think that if Minnesota finds their way to the Western Conference Final again, that they'll get the same belt from Oklahoma City they got last year? Or do we think that they're more well tested at this point and would give them a much stronger battle? Reminder, they got destroyed in 5 last year.
I don't know if they have the talent to keep up with him, to be honest. I mean, Ant's incredible, but like you said, employing Julius Randle and Gobert gets a little questionable when you get into the final 4 teams of a playoff run.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also, I don't even know if it's pure talent, but the NBA is famously so matchup based that just a lot of the things that Minnesota does well, OKC just kind of does better and can eliminate in a way. Whereas like it's just there's a lot of rock, paper, scissors in the league. Like I can see Minnesota beating San Antonio. I can see San Antonio beating OKC. I can see OKC beating Minnesota. It's just a matter of what order those teams match up in to dictate who's the last guy standing. So matchup wise, yeah, it's not great for Minnesota. And even if Anthony Edwards is playing, he's not going to be above 80%. And the amount of guys OKC has to throw at him. I mean, we saw what they did to healthy Ant in the playoffs last year. I think you get a lot of the same in that matchup. So it's still OKC's conference to lose. I guess we can talk about their series really quick,
Yeah, I do.
unless you have something.
Well, I kind of want to start off. I'll talk about that series briefly. I want to start it off with the following. If I gave you even odds plus 100 and set the series line for games played in that series at 4.5, would you take the over if I gave you even odds?
Yeah.
Would?
Give me
All right.
one.
Okay.
Give me one. LeBron's got one in him. You get a hot 3-point shooting game. Like Kennard hits 4 threes. Smart hits 3 threes. You get something like that.
Reeves was really bad the first game too. Like,
Reeves was awful. He was horrific.
right. So, I mean, if he's hot too, like, yeah, they have a chance to get one. But
It's a fair take.
Yeah.
I'm
And the
hoping
He was
for a
bad last
sweep.
night too.
And the Lakers, they hung around for a bit. It wasn't just a blowout like for 48 minutes. It wasn't like wire to wire BTA. So I could see him getting one. But yeah, I kind of hope they do. Dude, make OKC work a little bit. Like they might really just walk their way to a conference finals here, and maybe even an NBA
They
finals,
might
which,
lose less than 3 games.
yes, you can transfer your take, Ethan. You can transfer your take.
I will.
Do you want to transfer it to
Heard it here
OKC or the
first.
Knicks?
I'm more
It's already at
confident
2.
OKC will do that.
I know. What were we saying, Ben?
No, I mean, that's like definitely the least interesting series. It is cool that LeBron did not look like an old man out there yesterday and really stood his ground and, and was dogging it out. Like I was pleasant to see. So hopefully he keeps on looking good, even if they don't win. You don't want to see LeBron go out on a sad note. And it's a really weird time for LeBron because all year it's been like he's leaving the Lakers. This is done. There's always been kind of a rift between him and the Lakers fans. Even though he got him a championship, like I think the bubble deflated the impact of that. And with Kobe dying, it's just like Lakers fans haven't really loved LeBron the way most fan bases would, I think. And this is the time where, like, right before he leaves, I think this is the most he's ever been loved in LA. Without Luca playing, he's carrying the team. He's just been a good basketball player without any of the nonsense around it that sometimes accompanies him. So on the very worst case scenario, they go out in this series. At least LeBron's going out on a good note with that fan base, and I think will be remembered fondly by the fans in LA.
Yeah, it is strange how Laker fans do approach LeBron. It's like, so many of them are just Kobe guys that are just like, yeah, thanks for the title. Don't really care though. Like, yeah, it's very, very strange. I think the LA fan base as a whole is not even just Lakers. I just think LA sports fans are ridiculous. I can't stand them. I think they're like the least legitimate fan base possibly in the entire country. Like, as much as I hate Philly fans, they love their sports as much as I hate Boston fans. They're passionate. LA fans don't actually give a crap, and it really bugs me.
No, I think that's why you have the beef between New York, Boston, and Philly because it's just like three heads of the same coin type of deal. Philly fans don't love their team enough to not let Knicks fans take over their stadium in the playoffs. New York does come out number one in that. At least Boston didn't really have that last year, but
Yeah, that was
it is what it is. And then I guess there's one more series which I actually think you could argue is the one where the team down is most likely to come back and win, and that's Cleveland and Detroit. There is just such a talent gap there, and it is a matter of whether or not Cleveland's going to put it together. Where would you put that at in terms of likelihood of Cleveland coming back and actually going on to win this series?
I'll give 40%. And I was doing between like 30 and 40. I guess I'll lean 40 because there is that significant talent gap. The problem is one of the most talented players on the Cavalier team, honestly, both of them, because D Mitch has not been impressive, but one of them being James Harden. Anytime the playoffs roll around, he's no longer like, it's almost like his contractual hours end. And he's like, I'm good. Thank you. It's like, at school, I
Yeah.
don't work too far past my contractual hours. I work my butt off while I'm there, but you know what? When 3:25 hits, that's my time. I leave. Like, as long as I've handled all my business in my 7 hours I'm there, which I 99.9% of the time I do, I'm gone. James Harden approached it the same way. As long as he handles his business and averages about 24 points a game, by the time April 15th rolls around, his contractual hours are done. He leaves. That's what I watched last night. Yet another game, almost a quarter of James Harden's playoff games that he's played in, he has had more turnovers than field goals. It's ridiculous. He just simply does not care. You see, even like him and Duncan Robinson like got into it last night. And it's like, don't be a fake tough guy. Like, at least Duncan Robinson is like embodying the attitude of this team. And with him, it was just with Harden. I hate watching him.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we kind of said when he came in the first place. It's like you're gonna get Harden there. He's gonna play. Garland might not play, but Harden, even if he's gonna play, is not gonna really be playing that great. You combine that with Jared Allen with a whopping 5 points and rebounds combined last night. That's not going to cut it. Him and Duran kind of the battle of the mid down in the paint. But yeah, I mean Detroit just maybe last series was less of Detroit being bad and more of Orlando being good. Like you can make an argument of that. Like maybe this Jamal Mosley firing looks a little worse in rear view, seeing what Detroit did to Cleveland. On a side note, I did say at the start of the year, Jamal Mosley's first coach fired. Was not first, but he was second because I don't think we've had one since Willie Green back in New Orleans early on in the season.
Billy
So,
Donovan. Billy Donovan. Billy Donovan.
but yeah, but he like quit, right? Didn't he quit?
Yeah, yeah.
Not really fire.
It's one of those mutual parting of ways kind of deals.
Yeah, I'm not counting that one. Donovan's a good coach. I was happy for him to get out of that situation. But I would probably lean Detroit. I'm rooting for Cleveland. I'll tell you, I'd much rather see the Cavs and see Detroit in the conference finals. But it's that one should be a dogfight. I think it's going to go at least 6. We'll see how it goes when Cleveland. I mean, they play much better at home in the playoffs. Clearly, they didn't win a road game against Toronto. Maybe it'll be more of the same and we'll get a 7-game series. But, it's up in the air right now. It's hard to take away a lot from a first game of a playoff series.
If Cleveland can steal game 2 at Little Caesars Arena, then I think their chances of winning that series jump to like maybe even 70% because I do like them to protect home court. And this Pistons team, the thing I get nervous about the Pistons with, like as a Knicks fan, is did they discover something in that comeback in game 6 against the Magic? Did something just click? And are they just rolling now? They got off to a slow start and now they figured it out. I still feel like they have to go through a little bit more adversity as a team. Like again, we still reference that OKC loss to the Dallas Mavericks in 6 games back in 2024. That was really, really important, almost essential in then being able to put it together last year through 2 grueling 7-game series. First against the Nuggets and then against the Pacers, of course, in the finals. I feel like Detroit, I know they lost to the Knicks last year in a tough 6-game series. I feel like you have to experience a playoff loss in round 2 or 3 before you can like make that ascension. But hey, I mean, there's no rule to that. I mean, I guess I'm just negotiating with myself here, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just I don't know if Cleveland just might not be the team to give them that. When you look at their roster, some of the flaws really jump out in this matchup where you have like guy like who's guarding Tobias Harris? I mean, I know it's just Tobias Harris, but like Cleveland, they don't have wing or guard stoppers. Who's guarding Cade on that team? Your backcourt is not strong defensively with Harden and Mitchell. And then your wings, they're not really there. And Mobley's a big. Like, sure, they'll probably be able to limit Duren for the majority of the series, but they don't have the guys. And in a league that is dominated by star guards and wings who can run the show, you look at any team left, you got Edwards, you got Shea, you got Fox, you got LeBron. Obviously, some of those teams have good bigs as well. But again, Brunson, Cade, Maxey, like you need to be able to stop those guys. And Cleveland just doesn't have the blanking on the word, but they don't have the personnel to do that, So it's like, I guess I really shouldn't be shocked at how that first game went. You got guys like Dennis Jenkins who are getting a rhythm back now because you're not playing an Orlando team that's loaded with defenders anymore. You're playing a Cleveland team that is very scarce in that area.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I hate Dennis Jenkins, even though he's a Johnny. I can't stand him. Ben,
He's
any
an
other big time NBA storylines you want to touch upon today? I know you gotta go ahead.
Yeah, I got one more thing before I get out of here because I do got to get going in a second. Last week, mock draft scores came in, and I was told to come with a few punishments for Ben and Ethan potentially. I think I'm supposed to give you 3.
Yeah. So okay,
that you choose from.
Here's how I envision it. Okay. We can do different punishments. We can like coexist on the same punishment, but we each get 1 veto.
1 veto.
Yeah.
All right.
Here's my question. Should we have to call the veto as you're saying it so we run the risk then?
I mean, I'll be honest. I'm kind of just audibling these. So why don't I just go through the 3 of them and then you guys can pick. All right. First one. This is one that came to my mind immediately for some reason when I heard punishment because we can do it on the pod. Ethan and Ben, you guys have to record together. This is a punishment that takes place over 2 podcasts. Podcast number 1, Ethan has to sit on Ben's lap for the entire podcast. Podcast number 2, Ben has to sit on Ethan's lap for the entire podcast.
All right. Not brutal. Not fun, but not brutal.
The second one, we got to get milk involved. Brandon, maybe help me out on the adequate volume of milk here. How much milk do you think is reasonably the limit for these 2 to consume in a podcast?
I would say reasonable. I mean, it's typically an hour-long show. I think that's a little fast to expect you to do a gallon, but I think a half gallon each.
I think that's fair.
All right, so a gallon each of milk.
Wow, we'll kill a gallon combined.
I have another good one. I'm going to give you 4 total, I think. All right.
Okay.
Third one. This is a college dining hall classic that me and my boy Ryan Buck used to do. At the start of the podcast, you each will get a bowl of cottage cheese. Ethan, it can be skimmed so it doesn't mess with your cut. You have a race to finish the bowl of cottage cheese, and the loser has to eat a second bowl of cottage cheese.
I love that one. I do love that one.
I'm vetoing that. I hate cottage cheese. That's my veto.
You won't know what 4 is. You don't know what 4 is yet.
I don't care. I won't eat a thing of cottage cheese. That's my veto.
I'm going to cut that anyway.
And number 4, Fourth punishment for an entire podcast. You're going to have to find some equipment for this, but you will either need to be in a plank or in a dead hang for the entirety of the recording.
Dude, I feel like, in my opinion, the cottage cheese is like the easiest one to go to right here. It's high protein.
We don't have to do the same one.
We
If
can't,
it's-
do,
if
we can't do the cottage cheese one if Ethan's the only one doing the cottage cheese because it's a race.
no, then he
How
just has to
about,
kill
like,
2 balls.
2 bowls versus like a half gallon of milk.
I'm
Who
taking
does
the
that
milk.
quicker?
I'm going milk, man.
All right, the milk will be
Then-
turned into a race, though, and the loser of the milk then has to do
A bowl
50
of cottage
crunches.
cheese. No, a bowl of cottage cheese for the loser.
Oh, yeah, a bowl of cottage cheese for the loser. I like that.
Make a Greek yogurt, and I will do that.
A tub of Greek yogurt.
Okay.
That's a lot of dairy, but fuck, I just
right.
guess I got.
All right, milk.
Already.
We got milk race, dairy race, plank/dead hang for the show, or sitting on each other's laps.
I feel like it's
That
I feel
last
like
one
it's
get
the
a little
milk.
hard, but besides that, like I feel like it wouldn't be too bad.
I think the dairy race is a good one. I like that.
Yeah, I'm going milk.
Yeah.
All right,
like,
yeah.
I got.
All right, yeah. Race to drink a half gallon of milk each.
I'm
Loser's
just-
got to do a
and
bowl of cottage cheese.
I'll
Or
do
Greek
milk.
yogurt. Greek yogurt,
Yeah,
sorry.
Greek
Yeah.
yogurt, yeah. I'll get me-
Plain.
No.
You
Vanilla.
can't put like berries in it.
No.
No, this
it's
is
a
not meant to be
punishment.
fun.
This is a punishment.
It's not a. You're not getting a nice snack here. What
This
is
is
like?
not going to feel good, okay? The pain is the punishment. At least, like, make it tolerable taste-wise. I'm not eating a plain tub of Greek yogurt. That tastes like sour cream.
This guy's no fun. You should have picked David Bailey second overall.
I guess. Well, yeah, I should have. That's fair. I don't think me requesting vanilla as opposed to plain, it ruins this thing at all.
I'll let you guys figure it out. I got to run. All right.
Yeah.
All
right,
I hope
we'll
I
get to
hope
that a
I
little later.
contributed. I hope I
Yes.
contributed.
You did.
Ethan, are you okay? What was that?
Yeah, it seemed like the chair was gonna tip, so I had to spring
That would have
forward.
been hilarious to watch.
All right, get that on tape. All right, peace out, guys. Have a good one.
Peace, bro. Have a good
See,
one.
Ben.
Go Birds.
Ben's an Eagles fan. Though.
Yeah.
Apparently. I mean, you got to boot him from the pod for that now? You know? Can't have
Yeah.
Eagles fans here.
No. Okay, B. Let's do a little puck talk, and we'll go from there. Yeah, it's gonna be a little bit of a shorter show today. No big deal. I mean, Ben had to take off. I mean, Knicks are starting in about a half hour. Larry's gonna be here probably soon, so it's all good.
Yeah, so we'll kick things off. We talked about the Bruins just a little bit. I'm not going to go so in depth on that just because it's pretty simple. The Bruins just couldn't hang with Buffalo, and that was pretty evident. The couple games that they did win, they really had to play a perfect game. Everybody had to be healthy, like no room for error. There was zero margin for error. Buffalo was just clearly the better team. They had some studs up front that could hang with Boston's best players, and their blue line was just better, deeper. Everything about their defensive structure was just absolutely perfect. There's nothing Boston could really do besides, trading for Austin Matthews mid-playoff series. There's really not a whole lot they could have done to be more successful, I don't think. They just plain and simple outmatched, played a better team, and we saw those results. Props to Boston for pulling out the 2 games they did, but again, to win those 2 games, like you had to play perfect to beat them in game 2, and then it took an overtime defensive breakdown to get past the breakaway to win in overtime. So ultimately, can't say I'm shocked. Kind of went the way I thought it was going to. I did think it was going to go 7 if we got a little bit of better play, but given why the product that I saw on the ice on a nightly basis, not at all surprised they were done in 6. As a matter of fact, I'm more surprised they were able to pull off 2 wins because the games that they lost, it wasn't particularly close.
I'm with you on that one.
Well,
we
what do the
obviously
Bruins
watched
need to
the
do
game.
next?
What's up?
What do the Bruins need to do next to like
They need to
start
actually
building
rebuild.
towards?
Yeah, exactly. What Patrick said, they need to actually rebuild this team, and they took major strides last year. We're going to talk. Actually, I'll just transition right into this. We can come back to playoff talk in a minute. But I was going to talk a little bit about biggest winners and losers of the draft lottery last night. So the biggest thing Boston needs to do is, like we said, they need to really tear things down and rebuild. And they started that last year. They traded away Marchand, Carlo. A lot of the veterans who've been on the team for a while were traded away for better assets. Really, the only 3 guys who were really safe at last year's deadline was Pasternak, McAvoy, and Swayman. Those 3, they're like your core for the future. Now build around them. We saw virtually everyone else get dealt, traded away, a lot of new faces brought in. After the trade deadline last year, it was a completely different team, unrecognizable. And then they did a great job drafting. They drafted Higgins. We've talked about him a few times on the show. They brought in a lot of young guys like Fraser Minton brought in the Carlo trade has been a nice surprise. Same can be said about Murat Kuznutinov from the Minnesota Wild. There are a couple of young guys who have really surprised, played well, and are going to be an important part of that core in the future. But what they really need is another blue chip prospect, another young guy who can come in. And to do that, all you can do to get that is a high draft pick. So them really making the playoffs this year kind of set their rebuild back because they just played ahead of schedule, and props to them for doing that. But at the same time, it doesn't really help the team's long-term direction. The one thing going for them was that they had Toronto's draft pick for first-round draft pick, acquired it in the Carlo trade from last year's trade deadline along with Minton, and that had a top 5 protection. Nobody expected Toronto to be as bad as they were this year. As a matter of fact, Toronto finished bottom 5. They finished 5th place at the bottom of the standings, so 5th best lottery odds this year, to get that number 1 overall pick. 8.5% chance. That was their odds of securing the first overall pick. And guess what happened last night? NHL draft lottery is rigged because Toronto got that first overall pick. And normally I'm not one to say that, but it just felt like Toronto went from a perennial playoff team, a perennial playoff contender at times, to 1 year out of the postseason, and boom, first overall pick, screwing Boston out of it because, like we said, it has that top 10 protection. That pick was what the Bruins needed to kind of not complete this rebuild, but get that last blue chip prospect. And now they can't do it until likely 2028 because that pick a pick, first round pick from Toronto, will remain in Boston's possession. The problem being is that Toronto has the choice of next year. They can either opt to give the pick to Philadelphia, who they traded for a forward from Philly, whose name is escaping me right now. They traded it to Philly, and then this pick would slide to 2028. They really have the choice of Bruins and Philly getting that pick next year. The current way it looks like it's going to stand is if it's a top 10 pick next year, confirmed going to Philly, and Bruins will slide to 2028. I think that's the likely case no matter what. But either way, Bruins getting screwed because they're not going to get that blue chip prospect this year, and who knows what it's going to look like in 2 years. That's not really going to help a rebuild now unless it's an NHL ready guy.
Yeah, well, here's what I will say. I understand that you're not thrilled about the way the draft lottery shook down. I'm personally not either. By the time the final ball for the first overall pick was selected, the Rangers actually had an 18% chance themselves. They had 2 lottery balls it could have been. I believe it was number 9 and number 14, and number 12 popped up, so I was a little disappointed in that. But what I will say, I will be the first person to just destroy the NHL. I think they just market their sport just horrifically. Even just throw it all the way back to October, the very first game of the season. It was Florida Panthers raising their back-to-back Stanley Cup banner at like 4:00 in the afternoon. They're terrible at marketing. What I watched yesterday with the NHL draft lottery was one of the most exciting things outside of a game that I've ever watched. Way more exciting than just like Deputy Commissioner Tatum, pulling teams out of an envelope for the NBA draft lottery. Way more exciting than even just like the first round of the NFL draft. Like, it was real. It was awesome to watch. And maybe there is a rig. Maybe they did it in front of our eyes on national television. But it was super exciting. I was actually driving and I had the game up on my phone, listening to it through the radio, or not the game, excuse me, the lottery. And I was fired up listening to it. It was dope. I got to give the NHL credit. It was a good idea.
What I will say is they do a good job of the presentation of that. That is, I'll agree with you there. And I don't think it's rigged. It's just one of those, like, are you kidding me? Like, really? Like, Toronto's going to get the first over pick? I feel it's kind of like how a lot of fans felt when Chicago won the Connor Bedard draft lottery. It's kind of the same deal because you have a real stud prospect coming up. One team that I do want to highlight, though, out of the draft lottery as one of my big winners, and that's the San Jose Sharks, because they finished 2, right? Yeah, they jumped up to number 2. They finished 24th in the league. Macklin Celebrini's on a tear. They got Michael Misa second overall last year. They got this kid Sam Dickinson there, Will Eklund, Will Smith. Like, they've got a bunch of really young guys who are going to be the core of this team going forward. They already have a team. I would say next to the Anaheim Ducks, it's coin toss between the two. Best young core that's going to just absolutely rip up the league for, not right now, but in 5 years, they're going to be the team to beat. And San Jose's done a really good job of setting themselves up for that. Now they get to add another second overall pick to that group in what's likely to be Ivar Stenberg. He's a Swedish prospect. He's kind of like we've talked about Matvey Michkov in the past. Michkov was a guy who kind of looked like he would be the first overall pick in a standard year's draft. That's what Stenberg is. He's a guy who would be a first overall pick if Gavin McKenna wasn't sitting there at number one, waiting to be snatched up by Toronto. So San Jose is going to get an absolute stud prospect, and they're my big winners out of the draft lottery yesterday.
You know, I'd be the first overall
Very
pick in
cool.
this upcoming NBA draft if like 9 billion people didn't exist.
Yeah, I'm sure you would be. Yeah, it's a crazy thought, actually. Can't believe that.
I know it's kind of wild. All right, let's get back on track. Let's cover some of the main points from like kind of the first round / transitioning into the second round, kind of like what we did with the NBA. Obviously, we're not going to cover every single series. You know, I know Colorado's up 2-0 in their series. They haven't have they lost yet in the playoffs?
Nope,
No.
6-0 in the playoffs.
And Carolina are both 6-0 in the playoffs, right?
I think so. I have not been following Carolina as closely.
I know they beat Philly in overtime
Yeah,
the
they
other
are.
day.
Yep.
It just seems like, you know, I look at the rest of the teams in the Eastern Conference and like no disrespect to Buffalo, but them and Montreal just both seem like a little too young to make that leap this year. I know one of them has to get to the conference final, right? And it seems right now like as cool as Philly is in their run, it seems like they're outmatched against Carolina. So it seems like Carolina, in a way, is going to sleepwalk to the Stanley Cup final. And while Colorado is not going to sleepwalk, it seems like they're going to get there as the overwhelming favorite. And it seems like they're on a collision course. What are your thoughts there?
I wholeheartedly disagree with your take on the Hurricanes. I don't think it's a sleepwalk because I agree that the Canadiens and Sabres are very young teams and they're built very differently. The Sabres have, like we talked about that blue line, their top 4 defensemen are rock solid and they have some real firepower up front that can, you know, as long as they can play defense, keep the puck out of their net and score, you know, 3 goals a night, I think they could beat the Canadiens. These are kind of built in reverse. Their top 6 forward group is really good. I don't think they have necessarily the same caliber of forwards that Buffalo has, but they're deeper. Juraj Slafkovsky, Nick Suzuki, you've got that kid Ivan Demidov on that second line. Like they have more depth than Buffalo does. I think giving them a little bit more of a luxury to kind of roll their lines a little bit more when you know, if they need to, you know, come back in a game or something. I think that's a luxury that Montreal will have that Buffalo doesn't. But with that said, I can kind of see that series going either way. And I think whoever comes out of that is going to really give Carolina a run for their money because, like you talked about, Carolina hasn't really had to face a lot of adversity so far in the postseason. Sabres, while they took care of Boston, they did have to play 6 games to do it. Canadians were in a dogfight against the Lightning. I mean, we can talk about that game 7 in a minute, but that was just wild in it. That game 7 was wild in itself. I think these teams are just more battle tested than the Hurricanes are, and the Hurricanes have a tendency to not really get things done in the conference finals. I know that this year I think is their best chance to make it beyond that, but again, their history makes me nervous. Are they going to really make it to the Stanley Cup final this year? I'm not sold on that, especially knowing what they're going to have to go up against. Flip side, Western Conference, you mentioned the Avs. I think wholeheartedly they are going to waltz right in because I don't think Vegas or Anaheim can give them much of a fight, and it's looking like they're going to take care of business against the Wild. Well, and we'll talk more about that series in a moment as well.
Listen, you know more than I do. It just seems like with Carolina, their kryptonite's been Florida year after year, and you know, just Florida beats the heck out of them. And so with them not there, I just think this would be the year. You got to be looking at that if you're a Canes fan. This is the year to get it done. It's similar to the way I know the Knicks beat the Celtics last year, but similar to the way the Knicks like should be looking at you know, the Eastern Conference of the NBA, where hey guys, the Celtics are out. There's realistically no team that matches your talent. This is your
Yeah,
time. You're in the end.
100%, 110%.
Looking at it. All right.
Um,
Go ahead and talk real quick. Recap those series. 'Cause I know we had a first time in NHL history, a very rare feat that happens in Game 7, Montreal, Tampa, in terms of the shots on goal.
Yeah, that was a crazy game to watch. And Pags, you and I texted a little bit about this while the game was going on. Montreal won Game 7 with 9 shots on goal for the entire game. And we kind of agreed that that total was not necessarily reflective of how the game was going because Montreal was doing a good job in controlling play at times. It's not like they were out of it. I mean, the Lightning were certainly, you know, getting their shots on net, but it's not like Montreal ever really looked outmatched. It just came down to a couple of fluky goals. The first one being fluky, I should say, because Canadians win with 2-1 with only 9 shots on goal, and that was just. I think it was just a lack of they weren't shooting the puck as much as they needed to. They were kind of tiptoeing around and playing it safe, and that's not the way to win a playoff series. But at the same time, like, they tiptoed around in a game 7, got lucky and won. You need to be taking more shots. It's just the shots they were taking weren't hitting the net, or they're just passing the puck around too much in the offensive zone. You can't do that when the game's on the line. Again, they lucked out that they got some real solid goaltending and from Dobes, and they, you know, going there against the Sabres, they're going to need to take something away from that and play more aggressively, because Buffalo is going to take advantage of those.
I hear you. I hear you. All right. What else we have to cover here?
Just last one, Wild and Avs. I want to talk a little bit about how that series is going, because Canadians and Sabres, their game 1 is tonight, starting in about 5 minutes. So we'll certainly be tuning into that over here. But the Wild are in serious trouble with Colorado. I thought that was going to be the best series of round 2, and now I'm kind of leaning towards that Canadian Sabres series. The Wild have just, as you like to say, Pags BTA. It's not been particularly close. The goal scoring has been it's been crazy. That first game, 15 combined goals, Avs winning 9-6 over the Wild. And then again, this past game too, Avs win 5-2. So, I mean, this has been a high scoring series, and I don't see that slowing down. That Avs forward group, Marty Necas, he was a part of the Mikko Rantanen whole swap a year ago, and he has effectively replaced everything that Rantanen was able to do offensively. He's playing on that top line with McKinnon. 100 points this year in the regular season. Like, he has just been an absolute stud for them, an overlooked guy in Carolina. Now he's really, like, showing up with the Avalanche. You look at the lines, just their center depth is incredible, because you're rolling Nathan McKinnon on that first line, Brock Nelson taking second, and Nazem Kadri, their trade deadline acquisitions, playing the third line center. And Necas is a center too. So if you really wanted to, you could go those 4 deep at center. That's the kind of depth we were talking about at the Olympics at that position for Team USA, or for Team Canada. Like, maybe not quite to that level, but either way, like, that's an Olympic 4-line center combination right there. So, I mean, you're not putting Necas or any of those guys on the 4th line, because they're all way better than that at the NHL level. But at the same time, like, you have realistically 4 centers that could anchor a line and drive offense no problem whatsoever. So, and you look at the way Minnesota has performed on special teams. They're not going to be able to win playoff series continuing with these numbers. Since this playoff run started, Minnesota is 4 for 30. That's 13% on the power play. You got to be looking at least 20% if you're being an effective power play, like a middle of the pack power play. You need to be hitting at least 20%. So that is not good enough. But what's really abysmal is their penalty kill. Their penalty kill is operating at a 59.4%. If you are not at 75% in the regular season, that's an abysmal power play. The fact that you are not even at 60% against this stacked Colorado offense, I'm sorry, you're just not going to get it done. Cale Makar is the best defenseman. He's a great power play quarterback. Minnesota doesn't stand a chance in the series unless they can turn around their special teams quick, and it's going to take a hell of a lot to get that. Let's make that happen.
It's going to take a special team to turn around
Exactly.
special teams.
You got it, E.
Awesome.
So anyway, that's pretty much all I got on our NHL talk. I know I kind of talked y'all's ear off with that, but
real quick, I want to add something in the soccer world. 2 minutes. Our Champions League final is set for 24 nights away. We will have the defending champions, Paris Saint-Germain, facing, unfortunately, Arsenal Football Club of England. I will be a massive Paris Saint-Germain fan that day. These guys will be over. PSG would be the first team to repeat Champions League finals since Real Madrid won 3 in a row from 2016 through 2018, and it hasn't been done before that since 1990 with AC Milan. I'm sure as hell excited for that game. Praying on Arsenal's downfall. That's all I got for you guys.
Awesome. Love it.
we're looking forward to it.
Our baseball news for the day is Framber Valdez got a 5-game ban for plunking Trevor Story yesterday. I hate Framber Valdez. What an absolute loser that guy is on every level.
And our NFL story can be Stephon Diggs got off on charges. No charges on him.
Yeah, that's
I
accurate
did
as well.
not see
All right,
that.
guys.
Terry
Larry's opening my
Skubal
door right now.
as well.
So we are rolling. Go Knicks. Love you guys. Thank you for listening. And we are ready to roll. Peace.
Good night, guys.